was just like fed up, and I was just like, you know, man, I'm gonna try to go to school. So I did go back to school, got my degree in English literature, and I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I'm gonna fucking defend bands. That was my whole angle.
Yeah, get the money.
Yeah, I was just like, there's that one dude who does it down in Orange County. He used to be in punk bands. I can't remember. It's Joe Escalante.
Yeah,
and he does that. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna do what he's doing. And I remember even emailing him, and he emailed me back, why would you ever want to be a lawyer? And I was like, oh yeah. And so then I studied for it, and then I took the LSAT, and I was just like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm bailing on it. So I bailed on it, and I was just like doing a day job, like writing traffic reports for fucking on-air people. Like whatever they read, like, oh, there's a SIG alert on the 405 South, and I wrote the text for them.
Oh.
So I did that for like...
Man, you went way down.
Yeah, I was like 2-3 years of doing that. And then I'm at work, and Omar from Mars Volta calls me.
Right.
And, you know...
Now, how's he get your number? Does he know you?
Manny from Distortion Felix. He had seen Cedric and Omar at a bar, and they were like kind of bumming, like, yeah, we don't have a bass player. Our record's about to come out, and we got all these tour dates with the Chili Peppers. We don't know what we're gonna do. This is what I've been told. But
yeah.
Anyway, so Manny's like, hey, these guys in At the Drive-In are, you know, starting this band Mars Volta. They're gonna call you, and you know, I was just like, well, all right, cool. So Omar calls me up, and I hadn't heard any music.
Right.
I was a fan of De Facto. They had a dub band called De Facto, and Mario C did it. And
that's right.
Like, fuck, that's ill. I think these dudes are probably ill. And so, but anyway, so I was like, I was into De Facto. Then, you know, Omar called me, and I was like, I'm going to fucking do this. And plus, like, to play in a band with Latinos, I was like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
I'm down. I'm always down for fucking the Browns. So I was like,
right, yeah.
Let's do this. So then, you know, I got music from it, and I was like, holy shit, this shit's fucking out there.
Right.
Like, it was like King Crimson.
Oh, it was like
a Latin kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let alone like, you know, like some kind
Santana Rush Zeppelin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was Zeppelin in there, but then also some like Can and some fucking like, just like, I was like, this shit.
It was so fucking different.
And ahead of just out of nowhere. And so I was like, yes, I want to do it. Absolutely. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm saying this. So I just said, please give me a chance. And so my wife was like, take a 3-week break from your job and just focus. And, you know, I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. And I remember like, she was going crazy because I was like literally I know how to practice. And so I was doing like 14-hour-a-day practice.
Right.
Playing their music. It's not that
was your hands getting fucked up?
Nah, not. I was just in it. You know? I was in it for to make this happen. And then I went in the first day of auditions, it was like, you know, I get there, nobody's there at the time we're supposed to meet up.
Yeah.
Except for Henry, who's Omar's tech, and so I'm really nervous, and I'm setting up my gear, and he starts playing Scarified, Racer X.
Yeah?
Because he's a shredder guitar player.
Right.
Because
he knows who you are.
Yeah, and I look over, and he smiles. I mean, Henry's just the most lovable dude, and I was like, all right, I'm good. I'm going to be at least comfortable now.
Fuck yeah, because he probably whispered in their ear like, this guy's great from the old day.
Yeah, he can play. And so we play, and it's first day was awesome. I felt it was really cool, and then I just go, so should I take my gear at the end? And Omar's just like, oh, no, you know, can you come back tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking, like, in my head, I'm thinking, are these other motherfuckers come in on audition and
play on your gear? Yeah. You're going to audition dudes on your gear.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, what do I give a fuck? You know, like, guys like, wake up, dude. Who gives a fuck? You know, if they blow up your gear or whatever, you got to get this gig. So cool. So I go home, and I tell my wife, it went really well, I think. I go, that drummer, John Theodore, is insane. Yeah. He is like Bonham, but with like these fucking abilities that I've never heard. And
right.
And I go, and Omar is just like, you can tell he's just like the mastermind. So then I go, you know, the next day, and I don't know, I think I got overconfident. Yeah. So I start popping off on some mistakes.
Oh, no.
And I was like, and then it gets in your head.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, these dudes are going, this fool's a clown. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So, but I think I'm too hard on myself. Right. And I really believe that's what it was. So then at the end, I go up to Omar, and I was like, oh, hey, man, I go, I'm really sorry. Like, I didn't play that great, you know. I'll get that part down, man. And I realized that nobody came in, so I'm thinking maybe they're just looking at me right now.
Right.
And so I go, but I promise I'll get it down, man. If you give me a chance, I'll get it down for tomorrow if you want to play tomorrow. And he goes, well, you better get it down. We have a show on Friday.
Whoa.
And I go, I mean, you mean I'm in? And he looks at me and goes, oh, I didn't tell you? Yeah, you're in. You got it."
What?
And I was like, after day 2 audition, and I was like, fuck.
Wow.
So I'm super juiced. And then I call my wife and shit and said, the third day it was like the band, like, you know, they all come in. And so I meet Ike and Jeremy at the time, who was not with us anymore, but he was super sweet to me.
Right.
Very like, he was the guy I initially went to kind of like, I would go kick it with him because he just wasn't intimidating to me. So
right.
he was super cool.
The other guys were intimidating to you, huh?
Well, because they didn't say much. Omar and Cedric just weren't.
Kind of like a cult, right?
Well, they were just like, they just would never say shit to the new people. They would talk to each other or whatever, but the new dude, they're a suspect of you as much as, you know, you are of what you're about to get your life into.
Yeah, it's like when I talked to you, right? And I said, how come you're never fucking, how come you're not on the album covers?
Oh, yeah, I wasn't on that. I wasn't on that first album, right? I just
No.
Yeah, I wasn't on that first record. I saw you at a Slayer show,
yeah,
wasn't it? Or Priest.
Slayer.
Slayer. And I remember you're like, oh, dude, what's with this dude Omar? He's like, it's produced by Omar, written by Omar, artwork by Omar, labeled by Omar. And I'm like, oh. I go, you know, he's one of those dudes who does everything, you know, whatever. But I remember thinking that forever, and I even told Cedric that like later on. I'm like, dude, this guy, when you go meet him, I go, he was that guy I told you about that I saw at Slayer, you know. And he's like, oh, okay, cool.
I always bust balls, you know what I mean? Because like you got Juan Alderete in your band. I was talking to somebody about it on my podcast a couple of days ago. If you're a kid right now, why would you learn drums or bass? No one ever gives them any money or credit. It's the fucking worst instruments to learn because you like drums, you got to carry all around. Bass, you used to have the SVT. It was huge. Right. And then you just get nothing. You know, at the end of the day, they're like, you didn't write shit. No money for you. You play bass, stand in the back or whatever. And I was like, why would you learn those instruments right now?
Right.
Every kid would be like, oh, fuck that.
Right.
So you get into Mars Volta, and fucking that's got to be pretty epic, right? What, like, how is it? How many years were you in?
I joined in 2003 in April, I guess, and so we just immediately like I said, Omar's like, you better have this. You know, my first show was at the Troubadour,
right?
And Ian MacKaye from Fugazi's there, and System of a Down dudes are there, and it's like all these labels. Rick Rubin's there, and so, you know, it's like my first show, and I had literally like 2.5 practices.
Wow, man.
And so we go in there, and you know, with those guys, like we had all these songs on the list, and we played like 30 minutes or 35 minutes.
One song, right?
No. Then they just were like, nah. We played 30, 35 minutes, and they called it, and we had all these other songs to play, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I didn't know. Like, was like, I think they were just like, this is good. You know, we're good.
Wow.
And so I don't think anything. I think they was like, all right, that's cool. Let's just bail on these other songs. So then
that's almost cool. A little taster.
Maybe also because we were playing Coachella that weekend.
Oh, I gotcha.
And so then my second show is Coachella.
Wow.
And my bass amp goes down.
Really?
Like third song, on second, third song, or whatever.
Oh no.
So I'm already getting riled. I'm like, this is going to be heavy duty. And then like next thing I know, I'm on a flight with Omar and Cedric, and we're flying to Minneapolis or somewhere in the Midwest to join the Chili Pepper tour.
Yeah.
And the same thing, like they don't say much. They're very nice, but you know, they're scoping me to see if I'm a kook or not, I guess. And so, you know, I'm just stoked to be here. And so we tour for like, I don't know, like a month with them.
What are you doing, arenas or sheds?
Arenas.
I gotcha, yeah. That's got to be crazy, right?
Yeah, and so it's super cool.
Have you played arenas up to there?
No.
That's what I thought, because none of your bands ever played anything past clubs.
No.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I ever did was stuff with Pat. We'd played some bigger like sheds or whatever, but never arenas. And so, you know, then we're touring arenas, and, you know, I knew Chad from like Bullet Boy, because Chad Smith, the drummer in the Chili Peppers, used to be super tight with Jimmy Deanna from the Bullet Boys, because Chad's a metal drummer, or loves metal. I should say he's a metal drummer, but he was way into heavy metal, and so he and Jimmy used to party all the time.
Wow, yeah.
And so I knew, so he came backstage and he goes, I know you, and I go, Deanna Brothers, and he's like, so like, you know, I'm feeling.
So you had someone to latch on.
Yeah, I have a little more comfort.
Now, are you on a bus?
Yeah, bus.
Now the other guys, Cedric and them, are on the bus, right?
Yeah.
But they're on the bus not talking either?
No, they talk, but they're just very like kind of insular dudes at the time. So it's like, it was just back then, it was just Omar, Cedric, John Theodore, Ike, and me. It was a 5-piece band. And then we had the crew on the bus with us.
Right.
So I kick it with the crew, and I was just trying to like get a vibe. Like I wanted to be comfortable, but I was always nervous because they never said anything. So I was like, is this temporary?
Yeah.
Are they going to blow me out?
Yeah.
I always thought it was like they were going to fire me. I don't know why, but I just like, because they just never
grabbed you for one tour and they'll find someone later.
Yeah, who knows? And so they, I would just hang out with Jeremy, and me and Jeremy would go, and Jesse is a tech, and we would go out and party, like just drink, but like we just go out and get faded and whatever. And it's like I'm gonna have a blast. If they fire me, I'm gonna have the greatest 3-4 weeks of my life.
Right.
And so the tour ends up in New York, and we do our own. We do Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
And so all these celebrities.
You're doing
I'm in an elevator with Chris Rock. I'm like, whoa, he's hanging out with Anthony. I'm fucking, Beastie Boys come through, and I'm just like, fuck.
You're playing the Garden.
I'm playing Madison Square Garden. And then I go to Anthony Bourdain's restaurant after, because I go, let's go, because I want to see if he's there so I can fucking tell him where I was at.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I was just at Madison Square Garden opening up for the Chili Peppers, and I get to be bros with him, but he wasn't there.
Right.
Anyway, so then... And then we do a solo show. Oh no, but the Madison Square Garden show was this vicious, weird shit. All these we were playing, and these dudes are just flipping us off.
Wow.
Fuck you. We hate you. They're throwing quarters at us.
Whoa, really?
And so we're walking off stage, and John's like, the drummer's flipping him off too, and you just see like a crew of dudes start coming down towards the stage, and John's like, fucking come on.
Whoa.
And Omar's going towards, I'm like, what if these dudes are gonna battle fans? And I'm like, what did I get myself into, right?
Yeah,
like, this is bananas.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
Gang shit.
Yeah, hell yeah. And so I'm like, oh, this is heavy. So then, and I'm practicing every night when I get to my hotel room.
Yeah.
It's like, I gotta stay good. I gotta stay.
You're going,
I want this gig. Yeah, I want to just make sure like I just nail this. And so we do our last show is a solo show, and it goes great. It's awesome. John from the Chili Peppers sits in. It's just a great show. Probably the best, maybe the best show I ever did with him. It's just just awesome, intense.
In New York? You did like a solo show. Where was it?
At North 6.
Oh yeah, all right.
And then fucking we're all staying back.
Do you have a record deal yet?
Yeah, the record's about to come out. Still not
They
out
did
yet.
the record without you.
With Flea.
Flea did the first one with Ruben.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
cool.
Justin JMJ, he played bass on one song.
I gotcha.
And so anyway, so we're in the hotel room, and I remember this clearly. This is the one thing that was like one of the most profound things that I could remember back from that time. We finished playing. We're in the hotel room, and I'm going to stay some extra days to hang out in New York with my wife.
Yeah.
And Ike has a girl he's hanging out with. He's staying. John Theodore's from the East Coast, so he's staying with his girl.
Yep.
And Omar and Cedric are going to stay back. I think they were just going to hang out too with their girl. So everybody's just going to hang out in New York and kick it. But Jeremy's like, he didn't have a girlfriend. He's like, I'm just going to go back. And I remember him, like, I was like in my room with the tour manager. I was rooming with the tour manager, and Jeremy came up and he gave me a kiss, and he kept kissing my arm. And I was remember like, he's like, I'll see you later. And I was remember like, why am I remembering this? Why is this weird? Like, not like we weren't close, but I was like, this is a little trippy. And get home, and I don't hear from anybody when we get home. I'm like, oh, I'm getting fired. And then, like, I don't know, maybe a week went by. I can't remember. I get a phone call from Omar, and he's like, Jeremy committed suicide. Not committed suicide. He didn't commit suicide. Jeremy overdosed. He died.
Right.
And I was thinking, did he commit suicide?
Right.
And I don't know. I was just like, something about the way he said bye to me, and it was just heavy as shit. I was so...
Yeah, he OD'd on heroin?
Yeah. And I just remember just going to the restaurant with my wife, and then I was like, we were at a restaurant, like a Mexican restaurant, and I just was a mess, crying, and she was just like, we got to go, and I was just like, I think this was it, but what a weird ending to this,
Yeah.
They'll probably break up.
Yeah.
I don't hear from anybody again. I'm like, we're probably gonna break. They're probably gonna just not do this band, or they'll do something else. And then they were like, hey, I think it's best that we go back out on tour. And they called me up. We're going to Europe. And then 10 years later,
wow,
the band. I mean, I almost made it to 10 years. Like, Cedric quit the band, like, I guess at the end of the year.
Right.
And
that was it. You ever talk to Omar?
Not since then. No.
Is it one of those things you're on Cedric's side now?
I mean, it's just one of those things that I believe people need breaks.
Right.
Because I was really...
I mean, those guys been together as friends, and shit way beyond most people ever last.
Right.
Especially in a band, it taxes you so fucking hard.
And you change. Your life changes. You become different people.
Yep.
And there was always bad communication in it. There was always resentment, and you just need a break. And it's just, nothing cures stuff like time. And I don't believe communication can even do it. It's just like you need a break. You need to be years away from it because you're still going to change. And who knows what you're going to be like in 3-5 years.
Exactly.
But I know that, I'd be eventually being in the Mars Vault. I became Omar's guy. Like I was his dude that, we'd spend hours and hours on the phone.
Really?
I spent hours and hours on the phone with him trying to convince him not to fire John Theodore.
Right.
And I was like, I know what happens when you change the dynamic of something great.
We always talk about that on this show. I talk about it over and over and over and over, and it's chemistry.
Right.
You cannot buy chemistry.
No.
And when you change the chemistry of a band, human chemistry is just like science chemistry.
Right.
If you add something to take something out, it changes the formula.
Right.
And as soon as you do that, and we know it. You've been in bands with numerous members, and the band always, each time a new guy comes in, it goes down and down and down.
Yes.
And
the drummer, John, he's just like,
Cedric said that John, it was the biggest mistake of their life firing him. And, you just saw him with Queens of the Stone Age. I saw your tweet. Yeah. The guy is fucking unreal. To find a good drummer is impossible.
we were, I was just like, oh, I know this is happening. Because I didn't hear from Omar for a while. We were off tour and I was like, something's up. Because I always know, I was like, oh, something's up.
Yep.
And then next thing you know, he was pulling in this drummer that used to be in Mars Volta before John. And there was all these things I had heard about him, but I was like, I'm not going to judge him on that, whatever. But he was a fucking asshole. He's a great drummer, but he's just not a cool person. He's just not a good dude.
Right.
And so the dynamics sucked. Nobody was happy. And so I remember at the time I kept playing like this drummer that I had found, this guy D'Anthony Parks. I was like, I would go, man, I'm going to just like when Omar comes on the bus, because at that time we had separate drummers. Yeah. Separate buses.
Right.
And they had their own. And so when they would come on, I would play this tape with this dude. Asteroid Power Up was one of D'Anthony's bands that he was in. And Omar would come on. He's like, who's this? I'm like, this is that guy, D'Anthony Parks. We need to get this dude. This dude is amazing.
Yeah.
This dude we got right now is a fool. Let's get rid of him.
You would tell him that?
Oh, yeah. And so
I love you. Like, get rid of this guy. He's a fool.
Nobody likes him. He said some racist shit to our tour manager who's Mexican American.
Wow.
And so
he's in a band with Mexicans.
Yeah, and he calls him like, hey, my spick brother. And we're like, yo, dude, fuck that.
What an
and so we're like,
idiot.
let's just get this. And he's like, they let him bring his girlfriend on tour.
Fuck that.
Dumb, right?
Yeah,
like,
Rules of Rock #2.
Boom.
Yeah.
And we're like, she's crazy, and she's trying to do like threesomes with the horn guy and shit.
Wow.
It's like some bullshit. Like
Mars Volta fucking has rock drama.
Well, it was because we had our own bus, and those two dudes were like,
they're in their
isolated from the
submarine.
dumb shit.
Yeah.
And we were all like, Paul, the guitar player at the time, and me, and Marcel, Omar's brother, and Ike, we're just like, we gotta get rid of this fool. Like, he needs to go.
Yeah.
And so, then finally, Omar's like, we get rid of him, and D'Anthony comes in, and he's insane. He's insanely cool, plays amazing, and we're like, this is going to be some other level shit. We were rehearsing at Questlove's, place that he has in Philly.
Yeah.
He came in with his laptop. He's like, because he knows who D'Anthony is. Like, fuck, they got D'Anthony Parks to play with him.
Yeah.
And he videotapes it, puts it up on YouTube. Like, check it out. Mars Volta rehearsing, and he was just like, they're amazing. Like, he was just blown away. And we were killing at that rehearsal for some. Maybe we were just inspired. But anyway, long story short, D has his own band. Can't really commit the way we need him to commit.
Oh, no.
So who do we call?
Who?
Barney.
Who
do you got?
Yeah, who do you got?
Thomas Pridgeon.
Oh, man.
And then it's just years of just playing with a dude who just doesn't have a mature level.
Mediocre.
No, he's an amazing drummer, but he's just not a mature dude. Just hard to handle. And so eventually it comes to head. And so back to D'Anthony, and we're like, D'Anthony wants to do it again, and so this is it. And then by then, it's just everything's deteriorating.
I saw you guys at the
Palladium.
Who played drums on that one?
That was Thomas.
I'll tell you what, man. one of the best shows I've ever seen. It was like 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
You had those backdrops, the painted things that would change every fourth song.
Right.
It was like seeing Santana meets Zeppelin.
Right.
Meets fucking like, I don't even know, like psychedelic.
Right.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah. He's, Thomas, that drummer then, I mean, he's a great drummer. It's different. We ended up sounding kind of metal because he's kind of metal. And so that kind of sucked for us. And we knew it wasn't right. And then he was always complaining about not getting paid enough. And then, it just got to a head where like one night he got super wasted and peed on the bus and, like it just started fighting with Cedric. And it was just unhappiness, darkness, all the way around. He shouldn't have been our pick, but we were desperate. We didn't have we didn't know who to go to.
What about like a Josh Freese or something?
I mean, we called a ton of people. Dude,
it comes down to not enough money for the level dude, right?
Right.
And then also it becomes your money is what you get.
Right.
And then you look what there's always these B guys, and you realize why they never become the A guys, because they do dick shit like piss on a bus or say racist stuff, or they're angry because they've been the drummer all their life and they don't get the glory or the songwriting royalties.
That was Thomas. He had a big ego, and he was, he had skills. I mean, he is a gifted musician, but I just think that he saw this, right? And he was young. I mean, I'm not going to say he's mature, maybe isn't the right thing, but he's just young and he didn't know. And I think he regrets, how everything went down. But, like we weren't happy as a band. We were never like, as much as he wanted to leave the band, we were already thinking we need to get rid of him. Our sound sucks. Like, we don't sound good with him. We sound like we just don't sound like Mars Volta should sound.
Right.
And so we get D'Antoni and we were like, this is going to be great. But then just so many things happened in the last.
The band was already over by the time you get him again, right?
It was just already like, the shows are less people.
Yeah.
And we're having less and less great shows. And it's just too much resentment and just bad communication, bad decision
I could tell it was a bad vibe because you and I are like old friends. I couldn't even go backstage, which is unheard of. You know what I mean? Remember I said, hey, man, I'm up at the door. And you said, not good time right now or whatever.
Somebody's probably like getting yelled at or something.
It's just like, wow.
It's not easy. His job wasn't easy.
He
kept it all, besides me helping him out, it was so much responsibility. I mean, he's responsible for all these people's employment, all the band members, all the crew members, management, agents. All these people are expecting him to generate money.
Right.
And that's a huge responsibility.
Yeah, that's hard.
He has all this other shit he wants to do. He wants to be a movie producer. Director and all this other shit. And it's just like, it's just got so fucking crazy and heavy and intense and just too much. So we need a break. So then Cedric's doing the solo record.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, can you play on it? I'm like, fuck yeah, I want to play on it.
Yeah. And when's it coming out?
I'm not sure. I mean, we're still like working on it.
Yeah. You guys played Alaska. How'd that go?
Yeah, awesome. Chili Peppers, great shows. We have our drummer Greg and our guitar player Dan have amazing voices. So the vocals just, it's four dudes singing.
I like it. It's kind of a little bit Buckley.
Yeah.
A little bit, it's a great, I think it's a great direction for Cedric to go. You know what I mean?
And it's really cool because it's fun as shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's having fun.
The chains are off.
It's the complete opposite of what we just got out of.
Yeah.
It's nothing to say like, whoever else is doing something else, I'm sure they're in better places too, because that's what happens. Like you're grateful when it is good.
Yep.
And
Queens of the Stone Age are glad you guys are gone because they just picked up that fucking. I've always loved them, but now they've hit this new level. Right. They've got this great drummer.
Yes.
They've got Theodore, and they've really turned kind of into this
legacy band.
Fucking great, right, man? That record is incredible.
Yeah, and I think so. I think with Cedric's thing, it's just like. We want it to happen so badly because everybody's got this great role that they feel. It's a band, so it's like, Greg, the drummer's got great aesthetics. He's opening up this new cereal store in Venice called Another Kind of Sunrise, and he's doing all the design, and it's ill looking. He's just he did our art. He found our artwork for what we're using right now. He's just got great style and great taste. So we lean on him and Cedric do that stuff together.
People bringing shit to the table.
And then and Dan is just a phenomenal singer, great textures, great vocalist, great songwriter, and we had this guy Nate Walcott who's been playing keys with us, who's also from Bright Eyes, and
Bright Eyes.
He does a lot of other stuff, but he's just a phenomenal musician, and it's just fun. We're laughing all the time.
Yeah,
and I
how are you getting money?
Well, tell you, I'm just starting over.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we're not making, we made some money on our tour with Dot Hacker that we did.
I like to let people in on that because they think people think people are just rich.
No.
Oh, they were in Mars Volta. They're rich. No, they're not.
If Cedric would have done this 6-8 years ago, it'd have been sold out everywhere we played.
Totally.
But we went out and played Vegas, and we thought, the first show will be sold out because everybody's going to want to see what he's doing.
Right.
It's like 150 people, not sold out.
Yep.
Second show.
San Fran looked good.
San Fran was good, and then Fresno was good.
You got to play like Austin.
Yeah. The YouTube
Brooklyn,
start hitting.
Yeah.
YouTube start hitting, so the shows start getting more people. But the first few shows, we were like, fuck, there's like 80 people in Santa Barbara here.
Wow.
And it's Josh.
Yep.
Who's a guitar player in the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and Cedric, who headlined fucking Coachella last year.
Yeah.
And then 80 people there to see.
Who's your guitar player?
Dan. His name's Dan Elkin. He plays guitar in Broken Bells. He also played in this band called Hella from Sacramento.
Right.
He has his own band called Them Hills. Greg Rogove, our drummer, he played drums in Devendra Bonhart's band.
Yeah.
And then he has his own band Priestbird. So he's in his own thing, but
just some good guys.
Yeah. So it's a great band, and I mean, like Cedric said, he always tells me, he's like, I just love how much we laugh, and we just didn't have that a lot in the Mars Volta. It was
I had him over here, man.
Shit.
The thing I want about Cedric is I just want to hang out with him every day. It's
he's
impossible.
The funniest dude in the world.
Because he's got twins now.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna see him. He came to my comedy show. It was great. He saw when I got my name painted on the wall.
That's awesome.
I gave him the tour of the Comedy Store. He loved it. He's one of those guys like, oh, now we can't hang out. He's like a guy I met at camp, but he lives in like New York. You know what I mean? New York meaning his twins.
Yeah.
His wife is cool as fuck.
Yeah.
She's funny.
I'm telling you, man. Like he is. I always tell people, what is it like? What's Cedric like? When they ask me, I was like, he's just one of the funniest dudes in the.
Oh, he was like my twin brother.
Yeah.
We were into the same movies, music, fucking, paint, art.
Yes.
Everything.
Yeah, shit. I'm telling you, I'm sitting in your crib.
Oh, he was here. He was like, whoa.
Shit. Yes, exactly. So it's going to be great when we finish records. We've been looking at some more people to work with, and we met George Drakoulias. I was telling you that.
Oh yeah.
So we went to Cafe Gratitude.
Yeah,
that's where we met him, and we were just rapping out, and I was I just remember George from back in the day because I told him, I met you before when? I go, when American Records was up by the Roxy.
Yeah, remember that?
Yeah. And he was just like, whoa, he's tripping out on that. And then he would like name bands. He's like, oh, yeah, I was producing this band called White Trash. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I go, Q Prime Band. He goes, yeah. And he looked at me all weird. I go, well, I know Dino. And Dino's still at American working for Rick.
It's
whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think Rick was running like... fucking Capitol for a while or something, right? Yeah. Sony or one of those labels. I remember I showcased for George Drakoulias. It was the weirdest thing ever. It was me and him in a studio right over here off of fucking Vine, some rehearsal studio.
Oh, I got to tell him this.
And he just came in. He said, hey, I'm George. I was like, I knew who he was. He sat on a chair in front of me. I played 5 songs, acoustic. Like, I'm wearing like fucking camouflage pants and, living on Roca Drive, like singer-songwriter shit. And he was like, all right, cool, man, thanks. And then he just cruised and nothing. Right. And same thing for Rick. I went to Rick Rubin's house there up behind the Comedy Store and played in Rick's in his little fucking music room there, 5 songs. All right, thanks. Like just trying to get some kind of something going. Just one-on-one. Just weird. Acoustic guitar.
Heavy. Rick came to like DC 10.
Yeah.
So that guy Dino goes, we got to go see this band. Dino loved us, so he brings Rick down.
Yep.
And so it's Abe Laborio Jr. on drums, and then Bruce, me. We had to keep Money Mark wasn't playing keys at that time. We had another guy, and Richie Kotzen's bass player, John Moore.
Yeah.
But he plays keys and he has a great vocal. So we were like, oh, we got the vocals covered. We're going to be killing. We had our own studio. So Rick comes. He's like, I love this. You guys have your own place. This is the way bands should do it. And he's just kind of, and so we're juiced to play. And Abe's like, Abe Laborio Jr. is like one of the greatest drummers in the world. And he starts getting nervous. And we're like, whoa, Abe's going to get nervous? And so we start playing, and Abe forget a couple of parts because I think Rick kind of intimidated him.
Wow, man. Rick is the god.
Yeah, like one guy we thought wouldn't fuck up would be him. And we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so, Rick's like comes and listens to demos, and we're all stoked, and then he didn't sign us.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, but I was like years later when I saw him, I was at his house after a Mars Volta show, and I was like, I'm gonna go up to Rick and remind him. And then every time I'd want to, I was just like, that's corny. He'd be like, who gives a fuck, dude? I don't care about your band.
Or he just goes like, why'd they get you? And then you're out. He just whispers in Omar's voice, get rid of that guy. Old metalhead.
Yeah, this dude was in Racer X. Yeah. Oh, are you kidding me? I gotta tell you, the first Troubadour show I was telling you I did, the whole day I was like, stressing because for years and years they just took it down like a couple of years ago, but for years and years there was a Racer X photo up on their front bar wall. Because it's like, wall of fame or shame.
Right.
And so there's a Racer X one and we all signed and my hair is giant and I'm like, please God, don't let these guys see it.
Oh,
please,
my God.
Please. And
did they know you were from Racer X?
No.
Oh.
I don't think they knew, or they didn't.
Just kind of kept.
You're in a metal band, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, they're not thinking that you're gonna have crazy hair.
And so I'm flipping out, and I'm like walking up like with like lead cement, like dead man walking. I'm like, if they see it, I'm out. I'm done. Yeah. And I walk in. And I see Jeremy, and Jeremy's like, he goes, hey, they're looking for you. I'm like, oh, all right. He goes, dude, you never told me about this photo. And I'm like, oh, they didn't see it, did they? And he goes, I don't know. And he goes, it's hilarious.
Oh, no.
And I was like, and I go walking backstage, and I'm like, oh, I hope they didn't see it. I didn't know when they want to see me. And I turn the door, and they are laughing their asses off.
Oh, no.
And they were like, oh, dude. And Cedric goes, dude, I love it. Yeah. Fuck it. That was an era, whatever. And I'm like, oh, thank God. I thought for sure it was going to be like, no, dude.
That'd be funny if they go, you're out. Like dead serious. We saw that glam shit down in the bar. You're fucking out of here. And then you just rolled your gear out and they played no bass player.
Hey, it's like in the fucking grunge era, that would have almost happened. That would have
probably happened, yeah.
Well, although, you look at Alice in Chain or the days, makeup.
Yeah, they were a glam band before.
Yeah.
I remember Vane opened for them in Seattle. They were full glam and they loved Vane.